Hey honey, how has your day been? Well, we all need a day just to relax and recover sometimes. Have you eaten? 'Cause that's also important. Good. Just had to make sure, 'cause your health is important. Anyway, on to D&D related things. I've got the books here, spare pad for writing things down, everything we need. And enough dice to kickstart another addiction to something random. So, first thing is making your character for the campaign. We're starting in like a few weeks or something, but the sooner we make the character, the sooner you can talk to the DM and write up some fun backstory and some lore. I haven't made my character yet, but I wanted to make sure that you had your stuff all sorted. And I don't know what system the DM's using for stats, so when you talk to them about backstory, make sure to sort out your stats. So, the biggest two questions are your race and your class. There are so many races and things to choose from, so really just pick what you want. For races, we have a big long list. We have Dragonborn, Dwarves, Elves, Genasi, Gnomes, Goliaths, Half-Elves, Half-Orcs, Halflings, Humans, Lizardfolk, Orcs, Tabaxi, Tieflings, and Warforged. That's probably not everything, but at least a decent chunk of them. There's something for everyone. So now the $1,000,000 question, what do you want to play? No, there isn't a rush. Just decide what you want to play in your own time. There is a lot of choice, kind of a choice paralysis scenario. Oh, and there's also sub-races. Yeah, if there wasn't enough choice, there's some races have like variants, like there's different types of dwarves, different types of genasi, and a few other races are the same. All the races give you like special buffs and features just for being the race, so they all have their advantages and disadvantages. Dragonborn? Dragonborn don't, unfortunately, they don't have wings. They're kind of like humanoid dragons, like scaly, kind of, they still have like the same dragon head, and they come in a bunch of different colours and metals, so they have different like breath weapons depending on what they are. So, depending on what colour dragon you are, your breath weapon does different stuff. Genasi? Genasi are the offspring of like genies and people. They're typically elemental, so you have like a fire genasi, a water genasi, air genasi, and earth genasi, and they get special powers to control their special element, I guess. I haven't really played genasis myself, so can't really say I know all that much about them. Elves? Elves are kinda like normal elves from like Lord of the Rings. Uh, they live for a ridiculously long time, and they do have some varieties. There's like three main types of elves that you need to worry about. You have drow elves that come from a place called the Underdark. They kind of look like vampires. They kind of live in like the shadows and the darkness. They get special darkness magic, I guess. You have wood elves that live in the forest and get special stuff to do with the forest, I guess. and high elves, which are kind of like standard elves. They're kind of like, oh, I'm explaining this so badly. They are kind of what you think of when you think of elves normally, and they're generally pretty smart. You want to make a wood elf? Sure. So since you're a wood elf, gonna start to need to note stuff down. I'll kind of scratch note things down. You get +2 to Dex, which is dexterity. You get +1 to your wisdom. You get dark vision, which is really helpful. It allows you to see in the dark for up to 60 feet. You get proficiency in perception, which kind of just lets you notice things better. Like, if you want to look for something, you might get asked to roll perception. You have something called your Fey Ancestry, which gives you advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and you can't be put to sleep by magic. And elves don't actually sleep, you just kind of meditate for 4 hours. It's a bit weird, but you know, beats having to sleep for 8 hours and being an unconscious log. And your elves get proficiency with long swords, short swords, long bows, and short bows. You get slightly faster walking speed, and the last thing is, since you're a wood elf, even if you are only lightly obscured by something like foliage or like other natural sources like rain, you can still attempt to like hide from enemies. And that's all the wood elf traits. I know it's a lot to remember. I understand that, and I promise it really isn't that bad once you get in game. Everything will be written down really simply for you too, so you don't have to memorize literally everything, but it really isn't that bad. It's tabletop role-playing games are kind of like, they look really scary when you're reading through everything for the first time because there's so much, but once you start playing, it really isn't that bad, I promise. Next up on $1 Million Questions is your class. Since you haven't played before, it's probably easier to not play a spellcaster for the first time, but I won't stop you if you want to try and learn. For classes, you have artificers, barbarians, bards, clerics, druids, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, rogues, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. The main spellcasting classes are bards, clerics, druids, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. Artificers and a few other classes do get some spells that they can cast, but like, it's not the main defining trait of the class. There are some people that would lynch me if they heard me say that, but that's just an easy way to say things. Artificers, they're kind of like magic artisans. They can make stuff and they can imbue it with magic. I do have a bit of experience with artificers because I played one a while ago. I played an armor smith, who were a dwarf called Dur, like Dur, D-U-R, which, if I remember, means shield in Dwarvish, which felt kind of fitting for being an armor smith. Yeah, a rogue works too. You can play any class you want. Nothing really limits you, frankly. Rogues, as you can imagine, are the typical sneaky people and are kind of tricky. There's also subclasses, but that's not something you have to worry about right now, because you get those at level 3, we're starting at level 2, but at level 3 you get a thing called a subclass, which is like specialization of what kind of rogue you want to be. You can be a like an assassin kind of rogue. You can get some magic, other stuff like that. Yeah, that's overcomplicating things for now, so I'm sorry. Just forget what I just said. That's something to worry about next level. Let's see. Rogues get and prepare for another wall attacks. Rogues get dexterity and intelligence saving throws, and use a 8-sided dice for your hit points, which decide in tandem with your constitution how much health you get. So, as a level 1 rogue, you will get expertise, so you pick 2 of your skills or your thief's tools, and you can, instead of adding just your normal proficiency to them, you get double proficiency in them. But worry about that in just a moment. You get your sneak attack, which is really fun because you can deal extra damage. You deal an extra 1d6 at the moment to someone who is distracted, so you are rewarded for your sneaky beakiness. And for level 1, you also learn Thieves' Cant, which is kind of like a secret rogue language. So, like, if another rogue leaves a message, then you would understand it, and if you left a message, only another rogue would understand it. And level 2, which is the last thing, you get your Cunning action, which lets you either dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action in combat. It will all make sense once you get into combat, I promise. I really do. Now, with all the words out the way, we have 4 skills to choose from. You pick 4 out of the list of acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. Most of them are kind of obvious what they are, so that's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than having to bunch of random words that make no sense. Acrobatics, investigation, sure. Sleight of hand, and stealth. Perfect. Now you pick 2 of them to get your expertise in, which just gives you a bigger bonus. And the last bit is your equipment, and then after this, it's kind of what you want to do. It's like, after equipment, it's like your backstory, your personality, your good, bad traits, your flaws, your goals, all of that stuff, which is really something to do on your own time and go over with the GM, because they know all like the lore and stuff in the world. So, just 3 questions: a rapier or a short sword? Okay, and either a short sword or a short bow and 20 arrows in a quiver. Alrighty, and lastly is a burglar's pack, a dungeoneer's pack, or an explorer's pack. They all just kind of contain a few different items to each other. Dungeoneers is like for going into dungeons a lot, explorers is for like going out in the wilderness a lot, and burglars is, well, for stealing stuff. And in addition to all the stuff you just chose, you get leather armor, 2 daggers, and thieves' tools. Wonderful. And now you just need your name, personality, backstory, what you look like, clothes, physique, all of that fun stuff, which is stuff to go over with the GM. And then you're done. I'm proud of you for sitting through all this really long process of kinda just me talking loads and loads and loads. So I'm going to be quiet right now, and just cuddle you instead, okay? Perfect. Glad we're in agreement. I'm proud of you.